Joining me now is CBS News Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes and Politico White House reporter Nancy Cook. Welcome to both Nancys. Thank you for being with us. Nancy Cordes, let me start with you. Graham is focused on apparent bias against the president. What can we expect from Senate Republicans in response to McCabe's interview?
Well, they've been saying so far that they think that he has credibility issues, that he is someone who is angry because of the way that he was let go, and that they don't necessarily take his words at face value. And you see Lindsey Graham going a step further and saying, well, if that's what he believes, then he ought to come before Congress and explain how some of these FISA warrants were obtained in the first place. Democrats say that is territory that has been examined over and over again, that Republicans are just trying to shift the focus here away from very troubling allegations being made by someone who was at the top of the FBI for a period of time.
So, Nancy Cook, as we know, the president has railed against the Justice Department regularly since taking office. We've heard FBI Director Chris Wray and Acting AG Matthew Whitaker defend their rank and file before Congress. But do you expect the president's line of attacks to continue despite the new leadership at the department?
Well, I think that particularly with this 60 Minutes interview airing on Sunday, I think that this will revive some of the president's anger about McCabe and the Justice Department, particularly as we know the Mueller investigation continues and may be wrapping up. I think that that will renew again a lot of the angst and anger that he felt just towards Sessions and the fact that that this even started.
And so, Nancy Cordes, back to you. While Republicans control the Senate, as you well know, Democrats now control the House. So what do these revelations mean in light of the Democrats' new oversight powers?
Well, they are already planning hearings on this issue. This is something that you will hear about from them again and again, and it opens up a new avenue for them when it comes to, who they can bring before Congress. Obviously, they would love for McCabe to come before Congress again. He's done so several times. James Comey also has been hauled before Congress multiple times to the point where he says, I've got nothing left to tell you. I've been through all of this, and it will be interesting to see if Rod Rosenstein, once he has left the Justice Department, does decide to come back before some of these democratically led committees, or is compelled to do so by Democrats, and answers these questions in a more fulsome way because he is no longer bound by his leadership position at the Department of Justice. I should tell you that the White House is now weighing in on McCabe's allegations as well. This just sent over a short time ago to the White House pool from Sarah Sanders. She says Andrew McCabe was fired in total disgrace from the FBI because he lied to investigators on multiple occasions. His selfish and destructive agenda drove him to open a completely baseless investigation into the president. So there you have the line from the White House, perhaps not surprising. They are basically casting doubt on his credibility and saying that he has an axe to grind.
Right. A strong rebuke from the White House, like you said, not surprising. Nancy Cook, Senator Warren reacted by saying the 25th Amendment is there for a reason. We just played that soundbite from her earlier. So now that we believe that it was discussed within the Justice Department, what does this mean for 2020 presidential hopefuls? Will they all need to address it?
Well, I think that they will probably all bring it up. I mean, it's damning that McCabe and others are willing to publicly say that, invoking the 25th Amendment and trying to get cabinet officials to do so because they're worried about how the president is fit for office certainly is a great talking point for Democrats. So I don't know if they'll all need to respond, but it might be something that they do want to seize on just to make their point that, the Trump presidency should only be one term and that they have a more forward-looking message for the country.
And Nancy, while I have you, Congress needs to pass a funding bill to avert another government shutdown by tomorrow night. Nancy Cook, what is in the deal and where does it stand right now on Capitol Hill?
Well, I think that where it stands on Capitol Hill is that it seems like most people on Capitol Hill are ready to sign it. There was Representative John Dingell's funeral today, so that put a little bit of a hiccup in terms of the House votes. President Trump was briefed on the bill at 11, I was told, by White House sources, and so he is still weighing whether or not to sign it. But all signs point to the fact that it does seem like he is going to go along with it. He just doesn't have the support for another government shutdown. The only sort of interesting thing that's happened, or the potential wrinkle, is some conservative groups are starting to come out against it. I just got an alert from the Club for Growth, which is a group very concerned about government spending, saying that the White House should agree to a short-term funding bill for 2 weeks to give the White House more time to review this. But the people that I talked to inside the White House say it does seem like the president will sign it, but he will also likely take some sort of executive action to move money around in the federal budget, so it does give him additional funds to build a wall.
And Nancy Cordes, what are your lawmaker sources on Capitol Hill telling you about where this measure now stands?
Well, I haven't talked to a single senator on either side of the aisle, Tanya, who says they're going to vote against this bill. I've talked to several who say they're still studying it because they got it around 1 in the morning, but no one who says outright, I'm going to vote against it. So that's a pretty good sign for where it's headed in the Senate, which is going to vote first. In the House, yes, there are some on the far left, some on the far right, who have already expressed their opposition. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a couple other freshman Democrats said they're going to oppose it because it provides more money for ICE, immigration and customs enforcement. And then you've got some members of the Freedom Caucus on the right who are slamming this, calling it a bad deal because it doesn't give the president all the border wall funding that he was looking for. But interestingly, Tanya, even those Freedom Caucus members who say they don't like this bill and they aren't going to vote for it aren't telling the president outright, don't sign it. In fact, here's what they say in their letter to him. They say, if you feel the need to sign the legislation, we also urge you immediately to use your authority to access funds to begin building a much needed border wall. So basically what they're saying is, look, we don't think this is a great deal, but we understand why you need to sign it because no one wants another government shutdown. That would not be good PR for you or for anyone. So sure, go ahead and sign it. We'll give you a pass on that, but we want you to try to find the money somewhere else.
A tricky balance to strike. All right, Nancy Cordes and Nancy Cook, thanks to both of you.
You're welcome.